Hi, I'm Indy and welcome to another exciting special episode of Out of the Trenches, where I sit here in the chair of wisdom and answer all of your questions about the First World War. Matik Golub writes, "Hi, great show." Thank you. "You're doing a good job. I can't believe almost a year has passed from the first episode, and I still wait eagerly for everyone. I have a question about the Persian role in the war. You mentioned that Russians were fighting in Persia, but I don't remember hearing that Persia actually declared war on either side. What was the deal there? Did I just miss the declaration? And was Persia fighting for the Central Powers or what?" Well, Persia was officially neutral in the war, but if you go back to the Anglo-Russian Treaty of 1907, it was divided by the British and the Russians into spheres of influence between them, right? See, they had no intention of letting Persia run things by itself. They both had stability there, and they wanted to keep it that way. So the treaty split Persia into three zones of influence: a Russian in the north, a British in the south, and like a buffer zone between the two. Now, Germany had, from the beginning of the war, an intelligence bureau specifically for the region, which was to promote subversive activity in India, Egypt, and Persia. The long-term plan was to free Persia from British and Russian influence and hopefully one magic day lead to an invasion of British India. Everyone was interested in Persia for its oil reserves, as you may have guessed. And the British had, since before the war started, a contract with the Anglo-Persian Oil Company and had exclusive drilling rights in large parts of the Persian Empire. Now, the Russians had access to hydrocarbons around the Caspian Sea, and the Germans and Ottomans wanted to cut this off. And very important, Enver Pasha, the Ottoman Minister of War, figured that if the Russians could be beaten in key areas of northern Persia, it would open the door to Central Asia and India. Pretty ambitious, as always. So, the fighting in neutral Persia was British, Russian, Armenian, and Assyrian forces against the Ottoman forces, who were often German-led. And it lasted for the entire war. The Persian people were, shall we say, not very happy to be used as a battleground by imperialistic forces. Okay, this is from Reddit by Mo. Oh, but three different spellings of Mo. Are the background music tunes in the episode created by the team or from other works? Some don't appear to be used as often now as earlier episodes, although I've noticed new ones. In general, the sound is great. Is it David who does this alone, or someone else too? Well, David, David can answer this himself, actually, since I'm not really certain. David, ladies and gentlemen, David Voss, insert applause.
Hello, everyone. Hi. So,
wait, I've got the mic, so I might have to repeat what you say. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we have a sound archive we use. That's Epidemic Sound.
We have a sound archive that we use. It's called Epidemic Sound.
Yeah, and there you can choose from different tunes. And then I look at every episode each, and then I think, well, that can fit, and I created a kind of like a soundtrack for the Great War.
So it is you alone who chooses the sound that is going to be used. Now, is it you that mixes the sound that's going to be used?
No, I don't mix it. We have Bojan. He's our sound guy.
Bojan.
Yes, and he mixes it, and then also he does some sound effects, like if you hear a bang or something like that, because sound.
So David chooses the music from the archive Epidemic Sound, and then Bojan mixes the sound and adds the sound of explosions or burps or whatever noises. Well, thank you very much, David. Always a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Watch out for my water.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. So,
good. Think how different the show would be if I did the whole show in that voice. Okay. Maybe I should. Maybe we'll do one episode. When we finally do a collaboration with South Park, I'll do that voice, and then we'll have Cartman and we'll have me. Okay, anyway, David Schilmoller writes, how come the Greeks or Bulgarians weren't helping the Anglos at Gallipoli? Even if they didn't expect to get any of their lands back out of the deal, I would think they have plenty of beefs to settle with the Ottomans. Well, that's a good question. You have to think, though, that the Ottoman Empire was not fighting on its own now, as it had been in the Balkan Wars against them. It now had both Germany and Austria-Hungary on its side, and much of its now seasoned army was German-led, and that's a lot to take on for a smaller nation. There were plenty of ethnic Greeks actually living in Anatolia too, and a big factor King Constantine I of Greece was Kaiser Wilhelm's cousin. They were on good terms. So even though Greek Prime Minister Eleutherios Venizelos, I love that name, even if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I think I'm getting Eleutherios right. Eleutherios Venizelos. He wanted to get the country to join the Allies in the war. He failed. However, British and Anzac forces during the Gallipoli campaign and the landings, they were allowed to use the Greek island of Lemnos for, supplies and moving things around. Now, Bulgaria had been defeated in 1913 in the Second Balkan War, and it found itself pretty much surrounded by enemies. And the end of the war also brought with it an influx of, over 100,000 Bulgarian refugees from Thrace and Macedonia who needed to be assimilated, and it messed up the Bulgarian economy. And after that war, the first international diplomatic relation that Bulgaria had been able to reestablish was with the Ottoman Empire. There was actually a secret treaty between the Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria that was signed in August 1914, just after the war had started. And it was a mutual defense pact in case either was attacked by another Balkan nation. They also said they wouldn't attack any other Balkan nations without telling each other first, and that Bulgaria would notify the Ottomans if they were going to mobilize. But basically, as Gallipoli unfolded in the early months, Bulgaria was pretty much seeing which way the cards were going to fall in general before deciding which side of the war Bulgaria was going to support. Timosaurus 007 says, the Italians occupied Valona in Albania? What? Were the Albanians a part of the Central Powers, or were they occupied by the Austro-Hungarian Empire? Albania, Timosaurus, was a complete mess during the war. Now you have to remember, or you have to learn, if you don't know already, Albania was not an old nation. The new Principality of Albania had only been established after the Balkan Wars on February 21st, 1914. This is only 5 months before World War I began. And the German Prince William of Wied was the new ruler, King William of Albania. But he was forced into exile by September 1914. That's how unstable Albania was. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, when the war started, had demanded that William send troops to fight for them in the war. He refused. So the money he was getting from the empire was cut off, and tribal chiefs and warlords took control of northern and central Albania, while the Greek local leaders, huge Greek population in the south, the Greek leaders took control of the south. And seeing the Greeks take control of the south, the Italians eventually took control of the north, and Serbia and Montenegro also figured they'd take their share. Now we're going to see a lot more of Albania later this year on our show, so I'm going to leave it right there. But Albania was basically being used the way Persia was, but on steroids. Okay, and here from John Tron, who writes us questions all the time. I like John Tron. Hey, John Tron. If the fan base ever gets people to do fan art, I want a picture of Indy slapping the out of Konrad von Hotzendorf with the caption, "What were you thinking?" All right, John Tron. Your wish is our command. Take a look. You know what I like? I like that he's actually, Conrad's actually personally apologizing to me. I like that when world figures do things 100 years ago, they personally apologize to me. Indy Nidell. Cross88 asks, Indy's question at the end of this episode is one I've considered a lot over the course of this show. After seeing the war rage for almost a year and seeing how destructive it is, who in their right mind would want to join in? If I were Italy, I'd have taken those bribes to stay neutral. It seems the only way to genuinely gain from this war. Okay, good question actually, because we've made a whole special about Italy and the whole prelude to them joining the war, what had been going on for the last few years in Italy. So, you can click on the link to that to see how that worked out right here. See, and then I don't have to talk you through it without illustration. And for more awesome stuff, like us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. That's it for today's Out of the Trenches from this Chair of Wisdom. See you next time.